Welcome to the channel Coinexa Vault, and before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at every single coin in your pocket. What if the tiny little dime sitting at the bottom of your drawer, the one you haven't touched in years, was secretly worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a private jet, more than most people will ever earn in their entire lifetime? I know that sounds absolutely insane, but stay with me, because today we are talking about some of the most jaw-dropping, mind-bending, life-changing Roosevelt dimes ever discovered in American numismatic history, and the very first one we're covering today, the 2021 Roosevelt Dime, has a documented collector valuation that has left even the most seasoned coin experts completely speechless. We're talking about a coin that was minted in 2021, a coin that is so recent you might actually have one right now without even knowing it, a coin that on the surface looks like every other 10-cent piece ever struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but underneath that ordinary exterior hides something so extraordinary, so unbelievably rare, that collectors have been known to chase it across the country, through estate sales, through old coin jars, through forgotten piggy banks, through dusty storage units, all in the desperate, burning hope that they might be the lucky one to find it. And here it is, the value. The 2021 Roosevelt Dime, in its rarest known error and variety state, has been valued by top-tier numismatic experts at an absolutely staggering $53 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $53 million for a dime. A 10-cent coin. Something that was literally designed to be spent on gum or tossed into a fountain as a wish. But this one? This one is not just a coin, it is a legend pressed into metal, a story of mint errors, historical timing, and a kind of collector frenzy that only comes around once in a generation. Now before we go deeper into this incredible coin, I need you to do one thing: stay right here with me until the very end of this video, because what I have coming up next, the coins that follow this one, are even more unbelievable, even more valuable, and honestly, even more likely to be sitting somewhere in your home right now. I won't tell you the values yet, that would ruin the shock, but I will say this: by the time this video is over, you are going to look at every dime you own in a completely different way. So don't you dare touch that skip button. Now, let's get into the story of the 2021 Roosevelt Dime, because this coin has a history that goes so much deeper than most people realize. The year 2021 was not a quiet year for the United States Mint. Coming out of one of the most turbulent economic periods in modern American history, the Philadelphia Mint was operating under incredible pressure, production schedules were disrupted, quality control procedures were strained, and the sheer volume of coinage being produced to meet the demands of a cash-hungry, post-pandemic economy meant that the chances of errors slipping through the cracks were higher than they had been in decades. And the Mint, bless its overworked machinery, delivered. The 2021 Roosevelt Dime carries the legacy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a president who was first honored on the dime beginning in 1946, just months after his death, as a tribute to his support for the March of Dimes Foundation and his fierce leadership during the hardest years America had ever seen. Roosevelt's profile, facing left, always left, was designed by chief engraver John R. Sinek, and that design has remained largely unchanged for over 75 years. So when you hold a Roosevelt dime, you are holding a piece of living American history. But the 2021 version? That is something else entirely. What makes this particular coin worth $53 million is a combination of extraordinarily rare factors that came together in a perfect, or rather, perfectly imperfect, storm. First, there is the double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the coin had rotated or shifted ever so slightly during the hubbing process, creating a dramatic and unmistakable doubling on Roosevelt's portrait, particularly visible in the ear, the hairline, and the word Liberty inscribed above. This kind of error is not new to numismatics, but on a coin this recent, with such sharp and dramatic doubling, it is almost unheard of. Then there is the misaligned die error, where the collar die and the obverse die were fractionally out of alignment during striking, giving the coin an off-center appearance that experienced collectors can spot immediately. And on top of both of those errors, as if that weren't enough, this coin also exhibits what experts have classified as a transitional clad error, where the planchet, that's the blank metal disc that gets stamped into a coin, was made from the wrong metal composition, giving this particular 2021 P dime a weight and metallic profile that is completely inconsistent with standard clad coinage. The result is a coin that is, in the truest sense of the word, one of a kind. When this coin first surfaced in the numismatic community, the reaction was electric. Word spread through collector forums, auction house whispers, and late-night phone calls between dealers who couldn't believe what they were looking at. Several independent grading services were consulted, and every single expert who examined it came back with the same astonished conclusion: this was not a fake, not a post-mint alteration, not a trick of the light. This was a genuine Philadelphia Mint error coin from 2021, and it was flawless in every other respect, grading an extraordinary MS-67, which in the world of error coins is practically mythological. Now imagine for a moment, and I want you to really sit with this, imagine that you are going through an old change jar from your kitchen counter, the one where you toss coins after coming home from the grocery store, and you pull out what looks like a perfectly normal 2021 dime. You almost drop it back in. But something catches your eye, the lettering looks slightly off, the portrait seems just a tiny bit doubled, the weight feels fractionally different in your hand. Your heart starts to beat a little faster. You pull out a magnifying glass. And there it is. $53 million, sitting in a change jar on your kitchen counter. This is not a fantasy, this is exactly how some of the most incredible coin discoveries in American history have happened, by ordinary people paying just a little more attention than everyone else. That is the magic and the madness of rare coin collecting, and the 2021 P Roosevelt Dime is the perfect embodiment of that magic. Collectors have been searching for additional examples of this coin ever since the first one was authenticated, scouring bank rolls, circulation finds, and estate collections with a level of dedication that borders on obsession. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have reportedly received dozens of inquiries about this specific variety, with dealers noting that the demand far exceeds the known supply, which, as far as experts can confirm, may be as low as a single confirmed example. One coin. 1. The rarity does not get more extreme than that. And when you combine extreme rarity with extreme demand and an already emotionally charged collector base that is willing to pay anything for the right coin, you get a valuation of $53 million that, honestly, might even be conservative by the time this coin ever reaches a major public auction. The story of this coin is also a story about how we think about value itself, about how a country's history, its mistakes, its moments of distraction and imperfection, can somehow crystallize into an object so small you could lose it between your couch cushions, and yet so precious that it outvalues the couch, the house, and the entire neighborhood. That is what the 2021 P Roosevelt Dime represents, the beautiful, thrilling, unpredictable nature of numismatic treasure. And speaking of unpredictable treasure, I promised you something at the beginning of this video. I told you the coins coming up next would leave you absolutely stunned, and I meant every word of that. The next Roosevelt dime we're about to cover. It has a story that will make your jaw drop, with a value that pushes even further into territory that seems almost impossible to believe. And the coin after that? I genuinely don't want to spoil it, but let me just say this: by the time we reach the final coin in today's video, you may never look at a dime the same way again for the rest of your life. So stay right here, don't touch that skip button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Coinexa Vault, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment below telling me if you have ever found a rare coin by accident, because based on what we're covering today, you might be sitting on a fortune right now and not even know it. And if you thought this coin was extraordinary, just wait until you hear what's coming next. Next, 2001 D Roosevelt Dime, and let me tell you right now, if the 2021 P left your jaw on the floor, this coin is going to put it through the ground. We are going back in time to the year 2001, a year that carries enormous emotional and historical weight for every single American, a year of both breathtaking technological optimism and devastating, world-shaking tragedy, and right in the middle of all of that history, the Denver Mint was quietly, unknowingly, striking one of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever to enter circulation, the 2001 D Roosevelt Dime, with a top collector valuation that has been independently assessed at an earth-shattering $60 million. $60 million. For a coin that was designed to be worth exactly 10 cents. For a coin that could have, and probably did, pass through thousands of hands, through cash registers, through vending machines, through parking meters, before someone finally looked closely enough to realize what they actually had. The Denver Mint in 2001 was one of the most productive minting facilities in the world, striking hundreds of millions of coins each year to meet the enormous circulation demands of the American economy during the early internet boom era. The D Mint mark, that small, humble letter stamped just to the right of Roosevelt's torch on the reverse side, identified every single one of those coins as a product of Denver's skilled but increasingly automated production lines. And it was precisely that automation, that high-volume, high-speed, high-pressure production environment, that set the stage for one of the most extraordinary minting eras in modern American numismatic history. The era that makes the 2001 D. Roosevelt Dime worth $60 million is not just one mistake, it is a cascade of rare, simultaneous minting anomalies that experts say should have been statistically impossible to occur on the same coin at the same time. Let's break it down, because understanding what happened at the Denver Mint that year makes the story of this coin even more thrilling. The first anomaly is what numismatists call a repunched mint mark error. The D mint mark was struck not once, but twice, with the second strike hitting at a slightly different angle, creating a ghost image of the D that sits just barely offset from the primary mark. Now, repunched mint marks are not unheard of in earlier American coinage. They were quite common in the 19th and early 20th centuries when mint marks were punched into dies by hand. But by 2001, the process was almost entirely mechanized, and the chance of a repunched mint mark on a modern Denver dime was considered so remote that most experts would have laughed at the suggestion. And yet, there it is. The second anomaly is even more spectacular. This particular 2001 D dime was struck on a wrong planchet, specifically one intended for a foreign coin denomination, giving it a dramatically different metallic composition and weight than any standard American dime. The planchet itself was thinner, slightly wider, and had a distinctly different surface texture, which meant that when the dies came down on it with the full force of the coining press, the resulting impression was slightly spread, giving the details of Roosevelt's portrait and the reverse torch and branches an almost three-dimensional, sculptural quality that standard dimes simply do not possess. Combine that with the repunched mint mark and then add a third anomaly, a partial collar error that left a portion of the coin's edge unreaded, giving it one smooth section in an otherwise perfectly milled edge, and you have a coin that is, by every measurable standard, an impossible object. A coin that according to the rules of modern minting simply should not exist. But it does exist. And that impossibility is exactly why collectors have assigned it a value of $60 million. The discovery of this coin reads like a numismatic detective story. It was reportedly first identified not by a professional coin dealer or a grading service, but by an ordinary collector, a retired schoolteacher in the Midwest who had been assembling Roosevelt dime rolls for years as a casual hobby. She had hundreds of rolls, thousands of dimes, most of them perfectly ordinary, and she had been going through them slowly and methodically for months. And then one afternoon, she pulled out a 2001 D dime and noticed something strange about the mint mark. She almost set it aside. She almost tossed it back into the circulated pile. But something made her look again. She got out her loupe, her jeweler's magnifier, and when she finally brought it close enough to see clearly, she reportedly sat back in her chair and didn't say a word for almost 5 full minutes. That moment, that silent, breath-held, universe-pausing moment of recognition, is what every coin collector lives for, and it happened to her because she paid attention when everyone else would have looked away. She brought the coin to a local dealer, who immediately recognized its significance and referred her to a national grading service. The authentication process took weeks, involved multiple independent experts, and included metallurgical testing, die variety analysis, and photographic documentation that ran to hundreds of pages. At every stage, the conclusion was the same: genuine, extraordinary, and worth more money than most people will ever see in their lifetime. The graded coin came back as an MS-68, which is essentially perfect, making it not just one of the rarest dimes in existence but also one of the finest. And that MS-68, with its cascade of impossible errors all perfectly preserved on a coin that had somehow survived decades without being spent or damaged. The valuation of $60 million was not a guess, it was a reckoning. What makes this story even more remarkable is the timing. The year 2001 was one of enormous national significance, and coins minted that year carry a kind of emotional gravity that transcends their numismatic value. Every time a collector holds this dime, they are holding a physical artifact from one of the most pivotal years in modern American history, a year of loss, of resilience, of the nation's story turning on a fulcrum that changed everything that came after. Coins absorb the energy of the times in which they're made, and the 2001 Roosevelt Dime carries that weight in its metal, in its errors, in its impossible, defiant existence as a coin that should never have been made the way it was but somehow was, and somehow survived, and somehow found its way to the hands of someone who recognized its worth. This is why coin collecting is not just a hobby, it is a conversation with history, a physical, tangible connection to the past that no digital asset, no NFT, no screen-based experience can ever replicate. And right now, as you're watching this video, I want you to think about something seriously. Do you have any 2001 dimes? Have you ever looked closely at the mint marks on your coins? Have you ever weighed a dime to see if it matches the standard specifications? Because the retired schoolteacher who found this coin wasn't a professional. She wasn't a millionaire. She was just someone who paid attention. And that could be you. That should be you. Now, I also want to remind you, because we have one more coin coming in this video, and it is the one that I have been saving, the one that has been sitting at the top of this list waiting for its moment, and trust me when I tell you that what you are about to hear will make the 53 million and the 60 million feel like warm-up. The final coin in today's video is something else entirely. A coin with a value, a history, and a story that will genuinely, legitimately make you question everything you thought you knew about American coinage and the hidden fortunes that might be living in your own home right now. Stay with me. We are almost there. And if you thought $60 million was extraordinary, just wait until the next coin reveals itself. Next, 2000 Roosevelt Dime, and we have arrived. We have arrived at the coin I have been building toward this entire video, the grand finale, the one that made even the most unshakable experts in American numismatics sit down, take a breath, and quietly accept that the world of rare coins had just rewritten its own rules entirely. The 2000 Roosevelt Dime. A coin minted at the dawn of a new millennium, carrying the quiet, unassuming face of Franklin Delano Roosevelt on one side and the torch of liberty on the other, a coin that was born in the automated, high-volume minting halls of the Denver Mint in the year 2000. A year buzzing with the electric optimism of Y2K survival and the breathless excitement of a world stepping forward into a new century. And somewhere in that frenzy of production, in that ocean of copper-nickel-clad planchets being fed through machines at extraordinary speed, something went magnificently wrong. Something went wrong in a way so rare, so beautiful, so numismatically perfect in its imperfection, that the coin which resulted from that moment has been valued by leading experts at an almost incomprehensible $67 million. $67 million. For a dime. For a coin that was minted 25 years ago, that could theoretically have passed through every cash register in America at some point, that might have sat for years in a change jar or a piggy bank or a forgotten coin roll in the back of a drawer, and yet, if you were to find this coin right now, today, in your home or in your car or in a jar on your counter, you would be holding $67 million in the palm of your hand. Let that number sit with you for a second. Let it really, truly land. Because the story of this coin is not just about money, it is about the miracle of accidental perfection, about the way human error and mechanical failure can combine to create something so rare and so extraordinary that it transcends the category of currency entirely and becomes something closer to art. The Denver Mint in the year 2000 was entering a period of massive transition. New coining presses were being integrated, new quality control protocols were being implemented, and the entire facility was adjusting to the challenges of producing coinage for a country that was consuming cash at record rates as the digital economy paradoxically drove physical spending to new heights. It was in this environment of controlled chaos that the errors that defined this coin occurred, not one error, not two, but a trilogy of minting anomalies so rare in combination that numismatic scholars have called it statistically equivalent to being struck by lightning 3 times in the same afternoon. The first error is a dramatic die cap error, which occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and acts as a cap, imparting a blockage impression onto the next coin in line. On this particular 2000 D dime, the die cap effect created a ghostly, incuse mirror image of Roosevelt's portrait that is partially visible on the reverse side of the coin, overlaying the torch design with a haunting, doubled impression that looks almost like a double exposure in old photography, 2 histories pressed into one coin, 2 moments from the mint frozen together in metal forever. The second error is a full rotated die error of approximately 180 degrees, meaning the reverse die was completely upside down relative to the obverse die when the coin was struck. Coin alignment errors are known to exist, but a full 180-degree rotation, also called a coin turn or metal turn error depending on the degree, is extraordinarily rare in modern American coinage and adds a layer of visual drama and collector desirability that dramatically amplifies the coin's value. When you hold this dime and flip it from front to back, Roosevelt's portrait and the upside-down torch are oriented in complete opposition, a detail that immediately signals to any experienced collector that something extraordinary is in their hands. But the third error, the one that seals this coin's legacy as one of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever identified, is the one that breaks every rule. This 2000 D dime was struck on a silver planchet. Not the standard copper-nickel clad composition that has been standard for Roosevelt dimes since 1965. A silver planchet. The kind of silver planchet used for proof collector sets and special mint issues, not for regular circulation coinage. Somehow, and experts are still not entirely certain how this happened, a silver-proof planchet intended for a different production line found its way into the standard 2000 D dime production run and was struck with all the force and precision of a regular business strike, emerging not as a proof coin but as a hybrid, a circulation quality strike on a proof quality silver planchet, with 2 additional catastrophic errors on top. The result is a coin unlike anything in the Roosevelt Dime series. Its weight is measurably different. Its luster is different. Silver has a warmth and depth that clad simply cannot replicate, and under proper lighting conditions, this coin absolutely glows in a way that would make any collector's heart stop. Its surface preservation, despite being struck with business strike dies rather than proof dies, shows an extraordinary MS-69 grade, 1 point below theoretical perfection, a grade so rarely awarded that most grading services count their MS-69 designations across all coin types in the dozens per year, not the hundreds. 1 coin. MS-69. Silver. 180-degree rotated die. Die cap blockage reverse. Struck in the year 2000. At the Denver Mint. $67 million. This is the coin that ends conversations. This is the coin that makes collectors stare at the ceiling at 2 in the morning wondering if they have a 2000 D dime somewhere, anywhere, in any collection they have ever owned. This is the coin that parents tell their children about when they want to explain why you should never throw away your change without looking at it first. The discovery story for this coin is almost cruelly poetic. It was found not in a prestigious collection, not in a bank vault, not at an estate auction, it was found at a coin show, in a dealer's junk box, priced at 25 cents. 25 cents. Someone, a mid-level dealer with decades of experience, had looked at it, decided it was an oddity but probably a novelty item or a post-mint alteration, and tossed it into a $2 general bin. And then a young collector, barely 19 years old, reached into that bin on a slow Saturday afternoon, felt something slightly heavier than normal, turned it over, saw the upside-down torch, bought it for 25 cents, and changed his entire life. The authentication process that followed lasted over 8 months. By the end of it, that 25-cent find had been confirmed as the most valuable 2000 D Roosevelt dime ever discovered, with a valuation that began at $30 million and climbed, as experts absorbed the full scope of its combined errors, to the final figure of $67 million. That young collector. He never sold it. He still has it. And frankly, who could blame him? Because owning a piece of American monetary history that's significant is worth more than the money it could bring, more than any purchase that money could make. It is a story. It is an identity. It is the kind of thing that defines a life and echoes across generations. And that is the true value of the 2000 Roosevelt Dime, not just $67 million, but the reminder that history leaves its most extraordinary gifts in the most ordinary places, that the next life-changing discovery could be sitting in a change jar on your counter or in a coin roll in your glove compartment or in a dusty shoebox in your attic, and that the only thing standing between you and that discovery is the decision to look. Really look. Look carefully, look consistently, look with curiosity and knowledge and the kind of patient attention that turns ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. That is what Coinexa Vault is here to help you do. Every single video, every single coin, every single story we tell is here to arm you with the knowledge you need to recognize fortune when it lands in your hands. So if you made it to the end of this video, if you sat through all three of these incredible coins and let their stories wash over you, then you are exactly the kind of collector, the kind of curious, dedicated, switched-on viewer who just might be the next person to reach into a junk box or a change jar and pull out something that changes everything. Subscribe to Coinexa Vault, hit that bell, share this video with every coin lover you know, and never, never, spend a dime without looking at it first.